everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a necklace today with some of the contents from the new bargain bead box called Violet Glade. These are the 8mm faceted round Malaysia jade beads, parentheses dyed quartz, and jade is in quotes. These are some of the bead caps from the box. These are some of the 6x4mm crystal rondelle beads. It was a violet mix and I just picked out some that are the same color. These were the rice beads in teal AB. I'm going to make a tassel, so in here I've got some of the 3mm finely faceted rainbow fluorite round beads, some of the 2.5mm by 1.5mm crystal rondelle beads in rainbow iris, some of the 8.5 by 4mm crystal drop beads in jet rainbow iris. I've got some of the little teal rice beads in there. I've got one of the little dragonfly spacers, some head pins. I've got some findings here. I've got a lobster clasp, some jump rings, some wire guardians, some 2x2 crimp tubes, and I use the Bead crimp tubes, and I'm just about out of them. I've got an extender chain in there, and I've got one of the little rice beads I'm going to hang from the extender chain. I usually always do that, and for some reason I always forget it when I'm doing these videos, so I thought if I put that in there I'd remind myself to do that. I've got some eye pins here. I've got some of the chain, or I've got all the chain that came in the box. I'm just going to use some of it. I don't know how much of it I'm going to need. And in this I've got some teeny tiny little 15-0 seed beads. And I know, I understand, you're probably thinking, what is she thinking using teeny tiny little 15-0 seed beads with the way she trembles and stuff? But I can handle 15-0 seed beads. I use them all the time when I do bead weaving, and there is a method to my madness, I promise. For tools, I've got my little bead stoppers here. I've got pretty much all my tools. I've got my tweezer pliers. They're Zuron. I've got both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers. These are Zuron, and these I got from BB Craft. I've got both pairs of my cutters. This one I use for bead stringing wire, and this one I use just to cut head pins and eye pins and things like that. I've got my crimping pliers from Bead, my chain nose pliers, and my round nose pliers that I got from BB Craft. I've got my little New Orleans shot glass that I'm going to put my little pieces of wire in that I cut off. That's all I use him for. I can't say that my lips have never touched alcohol, but they don't anymore. I don't bother with that anymore, but so that's all I use him for. So let me get some of this out of the way and I'll get started. Okay, I'm going to start with making my tassel. And these are not the eye pins that came in the box, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I had a lady comment after I did the unboxing, and she was wondering what we could use those teeny tiny little 1.5 by 2.5mm rondelle beads for. She wondered if they would go on bead stringing wire because they're so tiny. I tried them on my fine soft flex fine bead stringing wire, and they'll go on there. And I have this bead stringing wire from Bead. It's 19 strand. I don't have, the only soft flex I have is in fine, and this I believe is pretty close to what medium would be in soft flex. It's 0.18 inches in diameter. I think that's what that says. It's kind of rubbed off there, but it is definitely thicker, and they'll go on it too, so they probably would go on soft flex medium wire. But I'm not going to be putting them on bead string wire. I'm going to use these eye pins. I'm going to take some of my little teeny tiny 15-0s here and some of my eye pins, and the reason I'm not using the ones that came in the box are because my little 15-0s won't go on them. They're too thick. So I'm going to use these that I had. These are 22 gauge eye pins, and normally I would use a thicker eye pin. I'm going to do simple loops, and normally I would use a thicker eye pin to do simple loops, but I want to put these 15-0s on there, and these are strong enough to hold a simple loop, especially since It's not like around the clasp area or anything. It's not like it's going to get any, you know, much stress on it or anything. So these will be fine for that. I'm going to pick up one of my little 15-0s. And I'm going to pick up 3 of my little 1.5 by 2.5 millimeter rondelle beads. And I find I can pick them up and put them on here better instead of picking them up with the eye pen. I can pick the seed beads up with the eye pen just fine. It must be something to do with the shape. I don't know. I say that, and now here I am. I can't get it on there. There it goes. I'm going to put 3 on here. I think. Yep. And then I'm going to put another 15-0 on here. And the reason I'm doing that is because these little beads are so fragile, and I'm worried that I'm going to crack them when I do my simple loop. And I would rather put a 15-0 on each side of them and take a chance on cracking my 15-0, because I have like a gazillion 15-0s. And I only have a limited number of these little crystals. So I don't want it. The reason I'm using a 15-0, such a tiny one, I tried an 11-0, but the 11-0 is pretty much about the same size as the little crystal here, maybe even bigger, I don't know. And I didn't want that much of the little seed beads showing, and you can't really see the 15-0 all that much. And it kind of protects the crystals from me cracking them. I tried this and I cracked a few, so that's how come I know that. So I'm going to go down here just a little bit above my 15-0, and I'm going to bend my eye pen, and I'm going to take my cutters, and I'm going to cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to hold this so that it doesn't go flying. Cut it off. Now I'm going to keep this. I'm not going to throw it away. My little shot glass is not getting him yet. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and I'm going to go to the end of my wire here and make sure there's nothing sticking out, and I'm going to turn back a loop. Just make a little simple loop here. Make sure to get it good and closed. Okay, now I'm going to take, I'm going to make sure he's good and closed. I'm not sure that he is. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Now I'm going to take another eye pen. Now I'm going to take the rest of this eye pen that I saved. And I'm going to, because I don't want to waste, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend it over. Take my cutters. And I'm going to cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to put this little piece in my shot glass. And now I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and I'm going to roll back and make the first side of a little tiny little short eye pin here. That way I'm not wasting all the rest of that eye pin. I know that I always throw it away when I use the others. The others that I've been using are really stiff, and it's just too hard to do this with them. These are more malleable, and it's easier to do this with these. And I know I could just make my own eye pins with my 22 gauge German style wire that I use all the time, but it's just quicker and easier to use these because one side is already made. So I'm going to pick up another 15-0. I'm going to pick up one of my little 3mm rainbow fluorite beads and put him on there. And I'm going to pick up another 15-0. Same reason, I don't want to take a chance on cracking this little 3mm bead, so I'm going to protect it with those 15-0s. So I'm going to take Go right above the 15-0. Bend my eye pin over. Cut off until I have just probably about 1/4 of an inch or so. Take my round nose pliers and turn back a loop. Make sure my loop is closed really well. Now I'm going to take another eye pin. I'm going to do another one of these and another one of these, and then I'll be back. Okay, now I've got 2 of each of these. Now I'm going to take a head pin and one of my drops here and put it on here, and I'm going to pick up a 15-0, same reason, to try to protect the top of my drop. And I'm going to do a wrapped loop here. I would have put it on a head pin and done a simple loop, but I didn't have any head pins thin enough. The only head pins I had that were thin enough to put the 15-0 on, they're really thin, and if I do a simple loop, I'm afraid it won't hold, so I'm going to do a wrap loop on it. So I'm going to go down here to the bead, to the very tip of my plier, bend a 90-degree angle over the tool. I'm going to take my round nose pliers, put them in the crook of the bend there, bend my wire back until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers so they're facing the table, hold really tight, pull this part of the wire up until it's hitting the bottom of the tool, can't go any further. I'm going to cock it back a little to center it over the bead. Take my bent chain nose pliers, hold on to my loop really tight. Take my other pair of bent nose pliers and wrap. Just wrap until I can't wrap anymore. Until there's no space left. And then cut off the extra wire. Take my crimping pliers and tuck in my little burr that was left. Okay, now I'm gonna take one of my little links I made with my 3mm bead on it. And I'm gonna open it up. I'll put my little drop on here. Close it up really well. I had told that lady, I commented back to her and told her that I might try to do a tassel with beading thread, and I did work on that, but I would have had to use such a long piece of beading thread. I mean, most bead weaving projects you can add thread no problem, but to something like a tassel it would be hard to add thread, so I would have had to start it out with a really long piece of thread, and I didn't want you all to have to watch me fooling with that much thread at once, so I just decided to do it this way. Now I'm going to take one of these with my little three little crystals on it, and I'm going to open it, and I'm going to thread it on here. Got to be careful and watch, make sure your little 15 my little 15 is trying to crawl up into my loop there. Got to be careful, not let him do that. Okay, now I'm going to close it back. Make sure to close it back really well, because these are not the, these eye pins are not very stiff and I don't want them coming apart. Now I'm going to take my another one with 3mm bead. Open it up, connect it to this one. And I'm going to take this one with the 3 crystals on it, open it up, and connect it to this one. So there's one of my little tassel dangles. Now I'm going to do, I don't know how many, it depends on how full you want your tassel, of course. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do 5, I'm not sure. And I'm going to do every other one instead of the drop bead. I'm going to do one of these little teal beads at the bottom. I'm going to alternate. So I'm going to get all that done. Okay, now I've got all my little dangles made that are going to go on my tassel. I noticed after I turned the camera off, the wrap loop I made at the top of that drop, when I went in with my crimping pliers to tuck in my wire, I had cracked the 15-0 at the top of the bead, so it was gone. So I had to go back in and do that over. So that's something to be mindful of. Those little 15-0s are delicate; they'll crack too. I'm going to take an eye pin. This is not one of the eye pins that came in the box, but it's not one of the 22 gauge that I was using. This is one of the ones I've been using. It's pretty hard, but the ones in the box I couldn't get, my cutter wouldn't cut them. I guess because they're stainless steel, they're just really hard. So I'm going to make sure that loop is closed well, because sometimes they're not. And now I'm going to put one of these little dragonfly spacer beads on here. And I'm just going to make a wrap loop, a simple loop at the top of this. I'm just going to turn it over in a 90-degree angle. Cut off, leave about 1/4 of an inch of wire or pin. I'm just going to take my round nose pliers and roll back a loop. Make sure it's closed really well. Make sure it's straight with this one down here. Okay, now I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring. I'm going to thread all my little dangles on here. I'm going to start with one with the purple. I've got 3 with the purple drop at the bottom and 2 with a teal. So I'm going to start with the purple drop at the bottom and then do a teal. And then just alternate them like that. And then I'm going to put that on my little dragonfly link that I made. Close that up. Oops. Oops. It's trying to fight with me here. Okay, there we go. Now there's my little tassel. So now I'm going to get everything together and string up the rest of the necklace. Okay, now I'm going to string up a really simple little pattern here. I think I forgot to mention in my materials list my beading wire. I've got the soft flex beading wire in fine. It's the 21 strand. And I'm just going to string up a really simple pattern here. I'm going to start with a teal rice bead. And I'm going to do a little rondelle with bead caps around it. And then I'm going to do 3 of these faceted beads, 8mm faceted beads with bead caps around the middle one. And then another rondelle with bead caps around it. And then a little teal rice bead. And then another rondelle with bead caps around it. And then I'm going to do 5 of these faceted beads. The first one's not going to have bead caps, and then the second one is. And then no bead caps around the third one. And then a bead cap around the fourth one. And no bead caps around the fifth one. And then I'm going to do bead caps around a little rondelle. And a rice bead. And bead caps around a rondelle. And then 3 more faceted beads with a bead cap around this middle one. Then bead caps. Oh, nope, almost missed a 8mm bead. Can't have that. Now bead caps around a little rondelle. And another, I'm going to end off with a little green rice bead. So that's what I've got. So now I'm going to get ready to crimp here. Okay, I'm going to put my crimp tube on. My wire guardian. Bring my beading wire back down through the other channel of my wire guardian. Back through my crimp tube. Try to keep my wires from getting crossed. Squeeze my little wire guardian in just a little bit, very gently. Now, make sure my wires are not crossed and try to keep them separated. Try to pull them apart there. I'll take my crimping pliers and go in the second part there that's got the little divot on one side and the little notch on the other side. I'll lay my crimp tube in there. I'm going to squeeze. Turn it 90 degrees That puts each little wire in its own little channel. I'm going to go into the top part of the crimping pliers, the rounded part there, and lay my crimp in there, and squeeze and fold my crimp, and tug, and that's good. So now I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire. Now I'm going to do this side the same way. Take my crimp tube, put it on my beading wire, take my wire guardian, go down through the other channel, well, I thought I was through there and I wouldn't. Okay. Now, go down through the other channel. Go down through the crimp tube. And I like to try to go through a bead or two on this side because it kind of gets my hands out of the way of the crimp tube and the wire guardian and all that. I keep my wires from being crossed. Pull on my wire guardian and then pull down my beading wire. I'm going to squish my wire guardian in just a little bit, very gently. Now I'm going to check and make sure there's no slack, but I don't want it to be too tight. I want to be able to, for it to be able to drape well. I'm going to put my crimping pliers in the second part of the crimping pliers and squeeze. Turn it 90 degrees. Put it in the first part of the crimping pliers and squeeze. Tug. That's good. So now I'm going to cut off the extra. Okay, now I'm gonna make another section just exactly like this for the other side of my necklace. Okay, now I've got both sides of my necklace done, so now I'm ready to put it together. So I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring. I'm going to thread on this side. I'm going to thread on my tassel. I'm going to thread on this side. Close my jump ring. Make sure it's closed really well. Okay. Now I'm going to put my, take a 6mm jump ring. And I've got a couple of little pieces of the chain here. They're about 2 inches. I'm going to put them on each side. Been playing with this little box all day. It's just, there's just not enough hours in the day for everything I want to do. Okay, now I'm going to take another 6mm jump ring. Well, got it all tangled up in my extender chain here. Well, that's alright, I'll just leave it on there. That's what I'm going to do with it anyway. I'm going to put my 6mm jump ring and my extender chain on one side. And then I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring and put my lobster on. Okay, now there we go. Now I'm gonna make a little dangle to go on the extender chain. Take a ball head pin and one of my little green or teal rice beads. Gonna go down to the end of my pliers, bend the wire over the pliers, take my round nose pliers, put it in the crook of the bend the wire back till it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, hold real tight and pull this wire back till it hits the bottom of the tool, cock it back a little to center it over the bead, take both pairs of my bent nose pliers, hold real tight, take this pair of bent nose pliers and wrap. Just wrap until we can't wrap anymore. And then cut off the extra. Take my crimping pliers and squish in my little burr that's left over. And then I'm going to take a 4mm jump ring. Open it, put my little dangle on, put it on the end of my extender chain. I know a lot of people just wrap directly onto the extender chain, but I just find it easier to attach it with a jump ring. In there. Let me see if I can get it all laid out pretty and we'll be done. Okay, so there's my little tassel necklace. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I really love this month's box. I think purple is my favorite color anyway, so I was really gonna like this box. I had a lady comment today and ask me if I had a coupon code for the bargain bead box, and I don't know what the requirements are to get a coupon code. I did send them an email and ask, but it was later in the day today. They probably were already gone. I'm sure they'll get back to me maybe tomorrow or something. But I really hope you all enjoyed this video. As usual, thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos, liked my videos, commented. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.